Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I was supposed to film Sunday. I was supposed to film this video Sunday. The day just got away from me. Today's Tuesday, so I'm filming this today, and then there will be another video Thursday, I promise. I've been kind of slacking, so Aiden actually asked me to do this video because he's going to be a plague doctor for Halloween. So I figured I would make a Halloween type video. Hopefully it does, well, and you guys find it interesting. I did a lot of research on this, so I found it really interesting. Let's just get right into the video. It's about plague doctors. So let's find out what a plague doctor is. A plague doctor was a physician who treated victims of the bubonic plague in times of epidemics. These physicians were specifically hired for towns where the plague had taken hold, since the city was paying them a salary. They treated everyone, wealthy or poor. However, some plague doctors were known to charge patients and their families additional fees for special treatments or false cures. Typically, they were not experienced physicians or surgeons at all. Rather, they were often either second-rate doctors, unable to otherwise run a successful medical practice, or young physicians seeking to establish themselves in the industry. They rarely cured their patients. Rather, they served to record a count of the number of people contaminated for demographic purposes. So basically, plague doctors were not really doctors or surgeons. I didn't know that until I started researching this, so I thought that was kind of interesting. Plague doctors, by their covenant, treated plague patients and were known as municipal or community plague doctors, whereas general practitioners were separate doctors, and both might be in the same European city or town at the same time. In France and the Netherlands, plague doctors often lacked medical training and were referred to as empirics. Interesting. In one case, a plague doctor had been a fruit salesman before his employment as a physician. So basically, these guys were not really qualified to be doctors. Back then, they just needed people to be able to, I guess, record the number of deaths from the plague. So in the 17th, 18th, and 19th centuries, some doctors wore a beak-like mask that was filled with aromatic items. The masks were designed to protect them from putrid air, which, according to the now obsolete biomestic theory of disease, was seen as the cause of infection. The design of these clothes had been attributed to Charles de Larome, the chief physician to Louis VIII. I think that's the 8th. Let's get into the history. Aiden, my oldest, I think I mentioned this earlier, I'm not sure though. He is going to be a plague doctor for Halloween. If you want to see a picture, his picture is on my Instagram, my YouTube Instagram. It doesn't show his face, so you won't be able to see what he looks like, but since he's got a mask on, but he's actually in the full costume, and I think he looks so cool. So, the bubonic plague actually hit in, oops, wrong picture. I think it was 1347. I think that's what it was. I thought I had the screenshot of it on here, but I guess not. So I'll have to go back and edit this and put the date in right if I'm wrong. The first European epidemic of the bubonic plague dates back to the mid-6th century and is called the Plague of Justinian. The largest plague epidemic was the Black Death in Europe in the 14th century. The large losses of people in a town created an economic disaster, so community plague doctors were considered quite valuable and were given special privileges. For example, plague doctors were freely allowed to perform autopsies to research a cure for the plague. In some cases, plague doctors were so valuable that when Barcelona dispatched two to Tortosa, in 1650, outlaws captured them en route and demanded a ransom. Barcelona paid for their release. The city of Orvieto hired Matthew Fu Angelo in 1348 for 4 times the normal rate of a doctor of 50 florin per year. Pope Clement V, I think that's 5. I'm not very good at Roman numerals, and I apologize for butchering all these names. I'm not good with names, especially foreign names. Hired several extra plague doctors during the Black Death plague to tend to sick people in Avignon, I think that's how you say it. Of 18 doctors in Venice, only one was left by 1348. 5 had died of the plague and 12 were missing and may have fled. Now we're getting into the costumes. Some plague doctors wore a special costume. The garments were invented by Charles de Lorme in 1630 and were first used in Naples, but later spread to be used throughout Europe. The protective suit consisted of a light waxed fabric overcoat, a mask with glass eye openings, and a beak-shaped nose, typically stuffed with herbs, straw, and spices. Plague doctors would also commonly carry a cane to examine and direct patients without the need to make direct contact with them. The scented materials included juniper berry, ambergris rosa, mint, camphor, cloves, labdanum, myrrh, and storax. Per the then widely accepted Myamsa theory of disease, it was believed this suit would sufficiently protect the doctor from miasma while tending to patients. Public servants. Their principal task, besides taking care of people with the plague, was to compile public records of the deaths due to the plague. In certain European cities like Florence and Pergia, I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm so bad with these names. Plague doctors were requested to do autopsies to help determine the cause of death and how the plague played a role. Plague doctors became witnesses to numerous wills during times of plague epidemics. Plague doctors also gave advice to their patients about their conduct before death. This advice varied depending on the patient, and after the Middle Ages, the nature of the relationship between doctor and patient were governed by an increasingly complex ethical code. Now let's get into the plague doctor's methods. Plague doctors practiced bloodletting and other remedies such as putting frogs or leeches on the buboes to rebalance the humors as a normal routine. Plague doctors could not generally interact with the general public because of the nature of their business and the possibility of spreading the disease. They could also be subject to quarantine. Notable Renaissance plague doctors. A famous plague doctor who gave medical advice about preventative measures which could be used against the plague was Nostradamus. Nostradamus' advice was the removal of infected corpses, getting fresh air, drinking clean water, and drinking a juice of preparation of rose hips. In Tre de Fardamans, I'm so bad at these names. I'm so sorry, guys. It shows in Part A, Chapter 5, that Nostradamus also recommended not to bleed the patient. The Italian city of Pavia, in 1479, contracted Giovanna de Ventura, or contracted, as a community plague doctor. The Irish physician, I don't even know how to say that name, so I'm not even going to try, earned deep respect in Spain, France, and Italy for his bravery in treating numerous people with the plague. The French anatomist, Ambroise Pair, and Swiss, I'm not even going to try and say that name because that's not even happening, were also famous Renaissance plague doctors. So basically, that was it. That was actually pretty interesting to learn about, honestly. I had no idea. When I started researching it, I didn't think that, you know, plague doctors were really that big of a deal. It even said, you know, they weren't really doctors. They were just people who had failed as doctors, failed as physicians, failed as surgeons. So they just needed people to basically remove the dead. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I know it's kind of short, but I'm going to try and film another video and upload it Thursday. And I might do a bonus video for Friday. I know that I mentioned in my Instagram stories a couple weeks ago that I did something kind of crazy, and I was just waiting for the healing process. Well, it's been a couple weeks, so I will let you guys know when I film that video on my Instagram. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you in my next one.